What's up, Vatos and Vatas? We have Wisconsin native César Gamiño. We have a very fun episode of Colmillo Chilango. We're going to be talking about filmmaking, doing animation, creating content that has gone viral, being afraid of bears, camping in a tent, breaking your back while snow sledding, and much more. Don't miss this episode. Let's get started.
Colmillo Chilango.
Why don't we start by you telling us where are you from in Wisconsin?
Well, I am from the Milwaukee area. I grew up in a suburb called Brookfield, though.
Oh, Brookfield, okay.
Yeah, seen it grow and change over much time. So Brookfield, Wisconsin, yep.
So
Raised
excellent.
there a long time.
So I have César Gamiño as a guest. He lives in Los Angeles, California. He has actually helped me a ton through this moving to Los Angeles process. And I don't know if you're ready to hear this, but I met César getting close to 20 years ago. So
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my God,
yeah.
20 years ago. Why would
Getting
people
close
not
to.
be ready to hear that?
right? So the way I met you is through the Boulevard Theater in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is a small community theater run by Mark Booker. And how did you end up meeting Mark? Mark is a theater director and he puts in a lot of plays locally, right?
Yeah.
So how did you end up meeting
He
him?
does a lot of stuff there. They used to be located on Kinnicknick Avenue, right there in the corner of Kinnicknick and Lincoln in the area called Bayview. I don't remember exactly how I met him, but I do remember going to see a play there. It was Albie's, the play about the baby, the play with the baby, something like that. And I'd been attending plenty of community theater productions since I'd been back. That was my second time returning to Wisconsin after living in LA for 2 times. And so I already had all my acting training, so I knew what to look for and stuff. And I was sitting in the audience, and what people know is this small theater space, the Boulevard, the location they had back then, you are 5 feet away from the actor. There's 2 or 3 rows right in front. It's inside an older building in the south side. It was like a storefront. And on the left, there's a few rows, and on the right, there are a few rows if you're sitting in the center. And the actors just 5 feet away. So you are able to see every emotion on their face. And it's the closest to film acting. So you feel like you're right there and connecting versus theater. I'd done community theater in Wisconsin, at places like Sunset where it's 300 seat auditorium. So you have to do that whole project to the back, and it feels larger than normal, than natural. We don't speak like that normally, but when you are on film, when you're acting for camera, you just behave normal. You just, truthfully, you don't have to push your voice. The mic is right there. So that's the same thing and that they were doing there. And I remember watching it and thinking, oh my God, this is really good acting. I need to do something here. And so I don't remember. I probably walked up to Booker and was like, hey, Mark, my name is César Gamiño. I studied dance here, and I want to be in a play. And then he starts you out, he gives you little bit roles first, and then he works you up. And I think the first role was The Last Days of Judas Iscariot. And I played Simon the Zealot. That was my character. And it was so much fun. Huge ensemble cast. Awesome. When you're at the Boulevard, the backstage is actually in the basement underneath, and everyone has to be quiet because
I remember.
The ceiling is made out of paper or something. And everyone's just down there and just, between. It was just so much fun. It was a very rewarding experience. And then from there, I went on and did more plays. And that's when we were in a play together, if I remember. Which one was that?
It was The Misanthrope. It was a comedy. So the way I found out about the theater is basically, I was like, okay, I want to be an actor. How do I do this? I had like zero idea of how to even get started in Milwaukee. So what I did is I grabbed in that time a yellow book, and I started going through the yellow book
pages.
and then I would call the theaters, literally call the theater. There's another theater. It was on Wisconsin Avenue, pretty big theater. I forgot the name of it. Yeah. But anyways, I called and I was like, I want to be an actor. Is there someone I can talk to? And then they would be like, no, thank you. Like they would just be like so weirded out. And I kept calling anyone who I could, like until I got a hold of Mark. And then I don't know how he answered, I don't remember, but he was like, okay, this is what you do. Go and buy the book, Audition by Michael Sherlock, read it, and then call me. I was like, okay. So then I read it, and then he was like, there's this free play on this weekend, go and watch it, and then call me. There is this part of the Shepherd Express, which is a newspaper in Milwaukee that was like weekly, and they talked about the events happening in the city. And then he was like, read the part where he talks about theater, go to this place and figure it out, basically, and call me. That went on for about a year. And then he's like, okay.
Did you do all those things though?
I was doing that. I was trying to do as much as I could. So then he finally said, let's meet up for coffee at the Stone Creek Coffee in the Bayview area. I was like, okay. And at that time I was like working out a lot. I was, trying to be like the big guy with like big chest, and I was just bench pressing as much as I could. I go to the YMCA. I'm working out, and as I'm checking out, I see this guy carrying bags of newspapers, just bunch of bags after working out. And I've been seeing this guy running. He would like sing and run. We get out from the YMCA at the same time. I think I rode my bicycle. I get to the Stone Creek, and the same guy who got out from the Y, who I've been seeing for a long time running there, is Mark Booker. And then I'm like, hey, I'm Juan. And he's like, hey, good to meet you. He's like, I've been seeing you at the Y. And I was like, I've been seeing you. Funny thing, we never knew we were talking over the phone.
Okay.
So then we had a very cool conversation about the arts, and he explained to me about acting. And at that time, he was like, listen, if you apply yourself, it's going to take you about 7 years to become a good actor. And I was like, not ready to hear that. I was like, I'm ready to like take on the world, but little did I know. So then he's like, I'll give you a role, very little role in a play that I'm putting together called The Misanthrope. And that was my first experience. That's where I met you. And also I remembered like the first day, I think I like forgot my lines completely. Like I was like, I went in, I had no idea what my lines were. It was like a blur. I don't know what happened. I just remember like, it's like as if I fainted in my first play. And then after that, everyone's like, oh, you did great. You just kept going with it. You improvised. And I was like, I did good. And they're like, yeah. I don't know if they meant it, but they were very supportive, and I like the community. And that's where I met you. And I remember like you had this character with like, like the ladies around and this shirt open. And it was just like a fun character to see you play.
Well, I remember he did a gender reversal. So it was Misanthrope. And instead of Selamen, a female character, he changed it to be me. And he just changed my name and said Cesarmen. I thought, all right. I remember I had to go shirtless for that. So I was like, I got to work out a lot. And with my own body dysmorphia issues, thinking, all right, I'm never going to look skinny enough to be. But I'm surprised. I didn't know that he worked out at the Y before.
He did. For a while.
Wow.
I saw him for months. Like he always caught my attention because is this guy with a big beard and like glasses, eccentric, and he would be running and singing and like making jokes. Like I was like, he's an interesting person. And now, many years later, here we are in Los Angeles. So in 2016, I decided to move to LA, and you were already here. But for how long have you been in Los Angeles after Wisconsin?
This is the third time I've lived here. So I got here.
So you're a regular here.
Yeah. I've been. First time I was here was in 1995, and it was a very, very different world, especially in the acting world too. But Hollywood Boulevard still looked like a real dump back then. Even before they cleaned up the whole Hollywood and Highland area, and before Spider-Man and all the other characters came on, it was really nasty. Then they cleaned it up, and before the characters, it was kind of nice. And then it just turned into, like Wisconsin Dells, just packed. You can't even walk through there. It's awful. It's an awful experience. They need to just stop all that from happening there so people can enjoy it. But so I came out here. It was the third time living here. I came out here with my now wife, Susie, and it was 2012. So it was summer of 2012. Yeah.
So I joined you like 4 years later, right? Mm-hmm. And then how was your first experience from like Wisconsin? Because it's a very different place, So when I went from Mexico City to Wisconsin, Wisconsin was like, really big city, Mexico City, 24 million people, 600,000 with 10-month winters, right? So then after that, I felt like I wanted to come to LA, but the experience is, vary from person to person. So how was your experience coming here for the first time?
The first time I came here, I was in my 4th year of college at UW Milwaukee. I was a film major.
Oh, film major.
I was a film major, yeah. They had an acting program that opened every 3 years for new students called the Professional Theater Training Program, the PTTP, but I missed it by a year. And so my next favorite thing was filmmaking. I've been doing that my whole life, so I thought, I'll do that. So I flew out here with 2 friends from school, and I remember what I had was I used to have the Rand McNally Atlas, the big book with all the maps and everything of the whole country. And there was a page that was, or 2 pages, that was Los Angeles Metro all the way through the San Gabriel Valley and all the way to the coast, and just in 2 big pages, the size of like a big giant book like this. And I had that page torn off, and I'm like a real geek with maps. I love maps. And so I studied that map. Yeah, I just had that up on a cork board, and I studied it, and the names, the freeway numbers, the name, everything. There was no internet back then. I mean, there was no common internet. There was email, there was Earthlink web pages, there was AOL, but it wasn't like it was today.
I was horrible with maps.
Oh, really?
I worked at this bakery in Milwaukee called Bay Bakery. And I got fired in a month because they explained me the route.
And so you were a delivery driver?
Yeah, I was a delivery driver for this bakery. And they would give me a map, and that was set on my own. And I was like, I don't really know how to read this. So I would get so lost. And I would deliver things like hours late. For real. Like,
oh my God.
The owner, when he fired me, is this French guy. He's like, you've cost me so much money. He's like, you can't.
You gotta do the French accent. You gotta try. If he's French, you gotta say. This is my stereotypical accent. If it's a French guy, so you cost me. When you cost me so much money, I want to fire you. That's untrained, unworked on French accent.
That's pretty good.
I love to just play it. My wife hates all my accents, but ever since a child, you got to play with accents.
I'm so bad with accents, so let's give it a try.
Well, you're lucky then that you came out here with GPS, because back in '95, I'm coming around in a circle on this story. Yeah, I had that big map and everything, but I came out here on spring break for a week. I wanted to see what it was all about, and I looked around, and the first thing I remember was just mountains in the background. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And of course, the palm trees. And it was March. So in Wisconsin, when I flew back home after the week, the grass is all dead. It's gray. There's melted, dirty snow everywhere. And one thing I noticed when I looked on the drive back from the airport, and I thought, for the first time in my life, I'm looking at Wisconsin, and I said, wow, everything is so flat.
Yeah.
The horizon is flat. There's nothing like, the Santa Monica Mountains in the background to look at. But back then in '95, and I got this. And so then 3 months later, I picked up everything and I moved out there with the same friend that came with me for spring break. And so it was summer '95. That was my first time. But back then we had what was called the Thomas Guide. And if you hate maps, you would be terrible with this. It was a book about this thick, about this big. I can't even look around my room and find something about the size of a laptop, that space. And it was that thick, and it had the binding spiral. And you'd look up an address in the back, and it would give you corresponding numbers, like A12. And then you go, and what page? And you go to that page, and you go A, and then 12, and then it brings you down. And you have to figure, it was like calculating. It was like, launching a space shuttle, it felt like sometimes. So
wow.
Be very thankful that you came out here during the world of GPS and talking to a phone.
I'm so thankful. When I was in high school, I had the AOL where you put the disc for the updates, and I would go on these AOL chats and try to talk to girls as a teenager. And a few times they're like, yeah, come on over. Like, we can watch TV and stuff. And I was like, okay, here's my address. And then here I am driving, literally having to stop at like gas stations with like those little no, excuse me, do you know where this is? They would be like, go, like I would have to stop multiple times. And now I had a discussion with a friend of mine a few months ago about, maybe it's longer than a few months ago, but she's like, you've been in LA for like how many years and you don't know the street names? Where you like, and I was like, I don't need to. I have a phone. And she's like, but you should know. And I was like, I don't need to know. I was like, I've driven from Wisconsin to LA without getting lost once using my phone. I've been to Tijuana without ever being there, without getting lost once.
Yeah.
And all thanks to the phone. So I am very grateful, because if it wasn't for the phone, I would probably have to stop every few miles to the gas stations and keep asking for directions.
It's just got to be a thing, even. I don't think it's me preparing for, the end of the world. Like, what's going to happen when the satellites go down? Yeah. I don't think I'm going to be taking a lot of road trips, or it's, the zombie apocalypse. But you got to figure, what do you do when it's down? You got to be able to, But I go joyriding just to look around at the street names. And I memorize the street names. It's fun for me.
Yeah, that's cool. Emily's super good with maps, So when we go camping, we show up. And she's already like, oh, these campsites here. Even if we've never been there, she looked at the maps that are on the park's websites, and she can read them. I'm like, I am a left or right or straight type of guy.
See, that's the great thing about being in a pair. There's always one person in a couple that's really good with maps, and the other person nothing. I'm the map guy. She is not.
Oh, she's not? Yeah.
No. So before driving, she's like, I don't know. I'm like, tell me where to go. Tell me where to go. And I'm like, it's coming up fast. I'm just going to pull over. And then I got to look at it, even with the phone, But I'm, it's you got to be into maps if you want to. Really,
I don't even know my norths, I'm like.
Oh, that's sad.
I don't know.
The sun. Just look up at the sky. The sun sets on the west, rises on the east. Sun sets towards the ocean if you're on that side of town.
Okay.
You always know where the mount. In LA, when I lived in Hollywood, you always know the mountains to the north, the valley, going over the hill. The hill. It's a mountain. Come on.
The north is straight.
Oh yeah, you're in the valley, so you got to be thinking. Yeah, you'd be seeing like Sun Valley, those mountains way up there, way in the past.
Yeah,
if you can see through the smog.
Yeah. And it's funny about the valley, because when I've been here for a bunch of years now, and it's not just you. The majority of people who I know, I don't really see them. We don't really hang out. It's just this city works in such a way that people are so into their little bubble community, whatever, and it's really hard to, and then the pandemic happened, so that was just the nail and the last nail in the coffin. And,
but no, go ahead.
And I was going to say, but that was one of the reasons that I started this podcast, because I want to keep talking to people who I know, and even if it's virtually or. This is the first actual virtual episode of the Colmillo Chilango podcast. So I wasn't planning on it. But now I'm like, hey, if it works, that can open some other opportunities to talk to people in Wisconsin who I haven't talked to, or Mexico, or whatever,
If you really think about it, I mean, pre-COVID beginning, when we moved out to LA this time, this is my first time living on the west side. Because my wife was all like, I don't want to, because for me, I've always lived in Hollywood, live close to everything. That was just a program that I had in me. And you think about it, you're like, are you auditioning every day? No. And when we used to drive to auditions, are you auditioning every week? Probably not. Every month? Maybe not, unless it's really, really, really busy. So you think, okay, so that's your daily life. What is your daily quality of life going to be like? Where do you want to be? And so this is my first time. She said, I want to live close to the ocean. We moved to West LA on the other side of the 405. When the temperature drops as you pass the 405, it drops so 10 degrees. And then you just get used to it. And then it's that quieter side. But my point is, like you were saying, everyone's into their own pods. When I would tell people, like, oh, yeah, come on over, and we'd have a barbecue, they're like, oh, where do you live? And I said, West LA, right past the 405. It's like telling people you live on Mars. You might as well just say, come visit me in Seattle, because they're like, oh, my God, it takes that long. Once you get in your head, this is for people that want to move to LA, or people that live here that are always late, give yourself an hour to get everywhere. If you give yourself an hour and just say, it takes an hour to go everywhere, you'll never be disappointed. You'll never be late. You always, it takes an hour. And you get used to it.
And
now we live down in the... Huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now
Now
we
you
live
live-
down in the suburbs of Long Beach, so it's even a little further. But my point, original point to get back to, is this is hanging out even before pandemic started. This is more time than I spend, with other people. And it's like, why we have this miracle technology of, video. I mean, back in '95, I did have a webcam in '95. It was
Oh, you did?
this horrible thing, and I did it so I could try to video conference with my family back in Wisconsin because I love technology. And I was like, oh my god! So I got my mom one, I got me one. It was this horrible jittery. It was 8 frames per minute. It was like this, but it was still so amazing. And here we are. We just take this technology for granted.
Yeah.
Look I could put you on a full-size screen, and it'd be like you're literally inside my home.
We'll do it with the Apple Vision.
That with their VR. It's going to be like that eventually when it comes down in price.
I was gonna tell you a quick webcam story. When I was living in Milwaukee, I lived with in a house by Brady Street with 10 Mexicans. And I played a lot of
Way to
video.
further the stereotype. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, talking about the stereotypes, 4 of them lived in the attic with no insulation.
I think these were my relatives. I think these were my relatives there with you. Yeah.
The landlord came one time and he is like, "This is such a fire hazard. You were supposed to be 3 people here. How is this 10?"
Right.
But anyways, I used to play a lot of video games on a PC, right? So I set up a webcam to talk to friends and whatever. And then what I did, I don't even remember these chat rooms that I would go into, but I would basically find a picture of I would type cute blonde girl, and then I would just put it as my profile picture, and I'll put Jessica, just kind of how it was. And then I would have all my friends sit in the back couch, and then I would be just 1 second, and I would just go into these chat rooms, and I would be talking to these guys in Argentina, and I was like, yeah, my name is Jessica, and I'm looking for a boyfriend, and just lead them on, and then I would trick them into be okay, let's meet finally face to face. I'll show you the webcam, and they would be yeah. And then this time this guy's taking his soccer jerseys and getting them ready, and I was like, you first, and he opened the camera, and he's sitting there, and he's grabbing his soccer jerseys to show Jessica, and I was like, okay, It's my turn, and I would boom, open the chat, and there would be 5 guys, and they would all be ah.
You were the original catfisher back then. Oh, man.
And we would laugh so hard, and that's what I was doing with my during my mature years, right?
See, technology can be fun too. See, why not?
Yeah. Right.
Doesn't have to be serious podcasts all the time.
Yeah, right. So now, going back into moving to LA, would you ever consider going back to Wisconsin, or this is it over here?
To live or to visit?
To visit, no, to move back. Would you to move back permanently?
To move back, I have a program that I created in my brain that is, I got to be here the whole time. I mean, I've lived here 3 times now, even though the industry's changed enough where you could pretty much live anywhere once you have established certain things. I love how people think they're oh, I live in St. Louis. Okay, I'm just going to submit. No one's going to call you in if you don't have an LA agent, what makes you think you can just jump in? You still have to. But there's friendships, connections that you make only from living here. I'd been to film festivals where I met some people when I was living in Wisconsin before I moved out of this time. And I kept up those connections. I became great friends with a lot of these people. And that kind of could turn into things, but it's not getting on TV or, films. You kind of got to make that initial commitment to be here. So I've been here 3 times. I've made that commitment. It's expensive as hell to live here, of course. But it's cheaper to live in Wisconsin. But I hate the cold. I hate shoveling snow. I had last winter I was there living there. I got what I call shoveler's elbow. where you shovel and then you hit that hard part of the ice and then you lift it. You do that enough, that impact, it was starting to get to me, my elbow. And people would say, oh, just get a snowblower or hire a plow. I had a plow. All right. I did all the steps. My family has real estate property, so I was always constantly doing all that stuff. But it's, I love being close to my family, but it's like nothing can beat 70 degrees every day. Sunny. I mean, except for,
except
June
this year.
gloom and no sky July. And there was some other phrase they had for May. I don't remember. But when you wake up in Wisconsin, and the last job I had when I was in Wisconsin was as a personal trainer, and I had clients at 5 a.m. So I'd be getting up at 4:30 in the winter, and I'd look at the temperature and it would say -10. And then, of course, on your phone, feels like -20. You might as well just feels like -100. It's just colder than anything. You're sticking your hands in your armpits, just trying to stay warm. That's not good quality of life. And my mom will tease. She'll be like, well, you're not living outside. You live inside with the heat. Yeah, Mom, but, I don't know.
It's hard.
I think about it sometimes. Like, would I ever go back? But it's like, I love it here. It's just, and California has this different feeling. It's got this inclusive, progressive, open mind, technology, and it's just everywhere. You got mountains right there. You got the ocean right there. You got skiing if you want to see snow. I don't ski. But if you want to see mountains and go in the ski, right there. You got the desert right over there. You have a national forest right there. And if you want to
do a
go
lot
to
of camping.
you got Mexico right there. You
Yeah,
literally have everything. In Wisconsin, you're just city. You turn around, farms. Chicago, city. I mean, it has its appeal, but
it's simple. It's simple and it can be very easy. And then the reason I ask you this is because sometimes, pursuing acting, it can be taxing emotionally. Yeah. And then sometimes my mind wanders like, okay, if it's not LA, what is it? For me, I'm the same. I think the same way that you do. It's like, I'm here for good. If acting wasn't going to be a thing anymore, and I was just like, okay, I'm done with acting. I tried. Time to move on with my life, do something else. I don't really know if I probably wouldn't want to go back to Wisconsin, but I do love Chicago. I do love Chicago. I have nothing but good memories. But one thing is to remember the good, fun things, and another thing is to go back to winters, So when you're there during winter, I see my friends posting on Facebook and social media like, when is like always every year like frustrated because the weather is not coming, and every year is like the same thing. Like it doesn't get warm until like July.
And then it just goes, you get 1 week of spring, and then it's just super hot, humid, and mosquitoes. And that's the other thing. Mosquitoes love to bite me. So people say, come out to our lake house. My brother lives on a lake now, in Pewaukee Lake. And last time I was there was they had a 4th of July fireworks when he just bought the lot. And we're sitting out and I had to cover myself in the heat of July, my arms and everything, because they were trying to fly in between. It was just awful. The national bird of Wisconsin, the mosquito.
I just saw this meme. Let me show you. It's about like the mosquitoes, because when we first moved to LA, mosquitoes weren't really a thing, and they still are not, but they're kind of coming here now.
I mean, they are here. I have them in my backyard here in Long Beach, and even in the front, but it's nothing like the ones in Wisconsin.
No, nothing.
You go outside and they're flying into your eye. I've got them. People in your eye. Yes, they will. You ride your bike and your eyes are open, right in your eye, in your mouth, in your eye.
And for those of you who, I'll show you the meme. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh my God, all the bites on her.
And it says, but at least it's sunny.
Oh, but
no, it says at least it isn't snowing. So I'll put, for those of you who can't see this picture, it's like this girl and like kind of like nature, looks kind of like a farm, and her face is covered with mosquitoes. I'll put it on the notes.
Add it on top in the editing.
Yeah. So it's when it's just so cold and it's just like one thing after another. But anyways, now that we're talking about this, and like you mentioned skiing, you don't ski, I don't ski. Do you? I stay clear from anything that might give me any type of scrape, any of that.
That's it right there. That's it right there.
And now did you see about the whole submarine? It's like non-ending story about it.
No, I heard that they found them now.
Oh, they found them?
Yeah.
Oh, there's no way they
I don't
survived
think
it.
they made it now. You know, it's the last thing on Wisconsin I wanted to say, though, but when it comes to snow, yeah, the first snow is really pretty. And when it snows on Christmas Eve, being there for Christmas still feels kind of good because it's like, you know, you just go in for a week and it's cold and it's with the lights and everything. But that's because it was ingrained in me, you know, cold, Christmas, stuff like that. And that's the only time it's ever fun. And that's it. I know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to skiing, and this is where it got programmed into me. I say programmed because that's all we do. We're just computers, and we program ourselves that this is going to happen. When I was growing up, always coming back from winter break in school, there was always some kid with a broken leg, with a cast, and all that stuff. And it was always the kids that were like, oh, I was skiing, and we went to Colorado skiing. So in my brain, I'm like, oh, they break their legs when they ski. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that. I don't have the ambition either. It's like, you know, you go sledding, that's fun, but when you're done sledding, your pants are all wet, maybe because we were sledded with jeans on. You know, you're wet and it's just weighing you down, and it's just your skin gets all chapped underneath.
Yeah, I used to go sledding, not even do that anymore because Emily broke her back snow sledding.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, she jumped on a little plastic saucer. She caught a lot of speed. There's a tree line on the bottom, and her saucer 360 degrees or turned completely where she's not going forward anymore. Her back is going, you know. And then she landed against a tree and broke 3 bones on her back. So I don't sled.
You see, kids? I'll let that be a lesson to all you kids.
I don't even ride
Sledding
bicycle anymore because I had a back surgery. So now I'm like, I don't want to really risk anything anymore. But anyways, if you like any of that stuff, that can all be done in California. So I agree with you. We just do a lot of tent camping, and it's just like we've done so much, and it's just like there's always a new place to check out. It's always fun.
Even growing up in Wisconsin is the weirdest thing. I've never gone camping, and people think that people in Wisconsin are big campers. And some of my relatives camped a lot too, but I've never gone camping. But here's the thing: I hate bugs, mosquitoes, other bugs, ticks, all those little things that get at you. People say, "Oh, you just zip up the tent and you duct tape your ankles when it's flea season or tick season or." It's just so much work. But I love seeing your videos, and I live vicariously. I get to go camping through you guys, and I get to watch and stuff like that. But
so we have a story about camping. We just went to Morro Bay, and it was the darkest campground I've ever been. You couldn't see.
But that's good, right? Because it's no light pollution. No
light pollution. We were kind of by a creek. So it was foggy because it's near the beach. So all the clouds. No, you couldn't see the stars, no moon. So you literally couldn't see more than 10 feet from you, like pitch black, like complete darkness. So the first night that we stayed in, we're exhausted. We set up at night, and then the second night, we're like sleeping. It's like 2 a.m, and then I hear like an animal kind of walking near us.
El coco.
El chupacabra. And then it's trying to get into our tent. So we don't know what it is.
Raccoon.
It probably is a raccoon. So we like shush it, and like it's just like a paper thin layer dividing us from the whatever animal is and our tent, like where we are. And I'm just like trying to hit the tent and just let us sleep.
Sounds like a horror film scene about to happen.
We fall asleep.
And then it bites through the tent on your hand. You all in one tent, or do you have the kids in another tent?
No, we're all in a tent. The next day, we're not in the tent yet, and we start hearing the animal kind of like by the tent, like walking by, like because there's a bunch of bushes.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what? The animal is back again. So then I just go and like start throwing rocks to see if he would, like, because any animal will get scared by like humans, just with bears, you're supposed to clap, let them know that you're there. You grab a flashlight and you're like, shh, hey, and they'll be like right away. So I come with a flashlight. I don't see any eyes. Usually with a flashlight, the reflection of
reflection, yeah.
There's no, I was like, okay, weird. Then we still hear it back walking around, and then we start hearing this freaking noise that doesn't sound like a raccoon. I mean, this sounds a little weird, but honestly, the closest that I can think this sounds like
do it. No,
is
just do it.
no,
Do
no,
the song.
is
Do
the
the noise.
sound from the Predator, from the original with Arnold.
Like that.
Like a.
Oh man.
But it's like that, but like loud. So
Maybe it's a mountain lion.
now I'm getting like
Cougar.
kind of like shivers on my shoulders and my arms. I'm like, what is this? So I like, we tried to scare it, and he just kept making the sound. I'm like, I'm gonna grab a like my phone and record the sound so I can ask people what this is. Every time I would record it, it would stop making the sound. Every time. I did it for about half an hour. Never got really the sound. Never saw the lights. Never saw it, and we still don't know what it was.
I'm not
But
saying
we're alive.
it was aliens, but it was the aliens.
I told them, I was like, it's either a rabbit raccoon or an alien, one of those two,
Ugh, either one.
right?
Jeez.
Because, as I said, animals usually get scared by humans, and this one was very territorial. We just never found out what it was. But anyways,
And maybe that's why I don't go out in camping or expeditions into the ocean, because I stay in my lane. Humans are not, people get mad at sharks and stuff like that. I'm like, you don't belong out there. That's where he lives. You don't see me walking into your house and bothering you, and then you get mad that you bite me. Of course, and you haven't seen, obviously people haven't seen Jaws enough times to mentally, scar them for life. But I go in the ocean, but I don't go far. But it's the same thing like camping. I'm like, well, isn't that where bears live and bigger and mountain lions?
and that's what I
And
told.
they say, yes, humans, you have this structure. Thank you. I make a deal. I'll stay in here and I won't bother you out there. Fair?
So my daughters, they're like, "Are you afraid?" I was like, "No, but if I don't want to be around a bear." And they're like, "But why are you afraid?" And I was like, "So my daughters are not afraid if there is a bear, but I am like, Same. So then we go to Morro Bay, and there is a sign that says like sharks, right? So then they're like, "Can we swim?" Right? I was like, "If there's a sign that says sharks," and they're like, "Oh, but they don't come this far." And I was like, and they're like, these little kids, they're not afraid of if there's a bear
I
right
need
next
to
to
watch
it
some
when
more
they're here.
TikTok videos because I've seen sharks come close.
And I was just telling them about this little video of a shark that is like very small, 8 inches long, and this guy saying like, "This is a tiny shark, but if it bites you, let me tell you, it's not gonna be fun." But anyways, enough with the wildlife. I want to talk to you about all of the. You made a lot of content. You made a lot of
Yes.
stuff that has gone viral online, and I think the first one that I saw was the Bath on Bed Body.
The Bath and Body Works video with the candle lady.
Oh, that was so
Angela.
good.
Thank you.
How did that come about? Like, because I remember watching it, and he was just like showing Emily and just like laughing, and the way he was produced, it was very well done, very original. With
Thank
the
you. That was
reenactment.
October 2014 that we put that out. So Susie came across the original video, resurfaced, because the original video I think was from 2010, I think.
Okay.
And it was this woman named Angela from Wisconsin, of course, Appleton area.
Okay.
And she had a bad experience going into the mall at the Bath and Body Works store. And so she has a video vlog on YouTube series. And so she vlogged about that. And of course, YouTube will live forever. Someone else finds it years later and they're like, "Oh my God, look at this stuff. It's the original Karen," is basically what it was.
The original.
Before the phrase Karen was
The mother of all Karens.
there was Angela. And so they saw it and then they put it online. I think it was on Tumblr. I don't remember. And it was an article, and then all of a sudden it started going wild. And we had already been shooting Dirty Q's, the web series. And so we already had our stable of actors that we knew and worked with, and I know all their talents and everything. And so Susie was like, "Oh my God, we have to do something." And I said, "Well, if we're going to do something, we have to do it right now." And so she said, "Okay, I'm going to figure out the video. I'm going to figure out the best parts." And so she kind of figured out the best parts and figured it out. I thought, okay, how can I do this? And we contacted, some of our actors that we love to work with. And they were just like, "Oh my God, yeah, I want to do this." And I thought, okay, sounds good. And we just set up the green screen and just had fun with it. And you'd be playing the audio. I gave them the audio ahead of time. would play the audio on the on like a little boombox live so that they could work with it. And we did it in the style of Drunk History.
Okay.
So, and that's just, I love that show. And I laugh to death whenever I watch that show. So I thought if they could just do it, and, you know, Lisa had the gum chewing going on, and Shauna was just all playful, and Kat had that snicker. I mean, it's still, and so we did it. So we made the video, we put it out the next day, and then Tyler, I can't remember, it was so long ago. He was a very famous, popular Tumblr person. He posted about it, and then Perez Hilton, and then back in those days, online magazines or websites, you know, they would write articles, and so they started writing article, and the coolest feeling was, I remember I went to go pick up Susie from work, and I was watching the view count on my phone on the YouTube Creators app. I think it was called something different back then. It was different than the YouTube app. And I'd pull down to refresh, and you'd see the number go up, and it would go up by like 1,000.
Wow.
1,000. 1,000. Then it would jump by 10,000. I refreshed 10,000. Refresh 10,000 more. I remember picking her up, and I was like, oh my God, it's such a rush feeling. I said, so this is what happiness feels like. This is what excitement really is.
I love how you said, this is what happiness feels like.
I mean, it's such a, when you make content and you put it online on YouTube, let's say, that's just step one. You know what it's like. You put your heart and soul in something, and you're like, oh, I hope someone watches it, you know, because we think that there's this, we're only validated if we see a view count or thumbs up and stuff, when in fact, just make something for the sake of make it for yourself. If other people like it, great. If not, oh well, at least you're amused by it. If we go from that place, then our creativity is going to flow better, and you're going to enjoy the process a lot more too. If we was only, and I've gone through those phases where you're like, there's not enough likes. Oh, it was a failure. It was a big failure. But I mean, I wish everyone that makes content could get that feeling of of refreshing and watching it jump up 10,000 every second. It's wild. Yeah, it's exciting.
It is.
But you know, it lasts just, you know, I mean, it was a week worth of write-ups, and we're collecting them up, and a lot of those links are dead now on the internet. You can't even see them. And a lot of those websites that wrote those things, they're defunct now as well. They've just gone the wayside.
It's crazy how everything changes so fast, because it's not that long ago. You know, it's it's crazy. Are you still in touch with all those actors, Shauna and Lisa? Lisa is the one, the blonde?
Lisa played, yeah. Oh yeah, I still talk to them all. Lisa, she played Angela. Shauna was, what's the character's name? Oh my God, I can't believe I don't remember it. I don't remember, but we gave Kat the name Vela because it's candle in Spanish.
I just saw Kat the other day.
You did?
It's a funny, I don't know. I live close to a Goodwill, and then I saw her driving by. I don't know if she was coming out of the Goodwill, but she was like driving in her car. And then she sees me, and I'm walking my dog, and she sees me like, do I know you? And I'm looking at her like, do I know you? But it was like slow motion, like her in the car looking at me, and me with my dog walking at her. And I'm like, do I know? Like after she drove, I was like, I know her, you know?
You should have just sent her a text and said, hey, it's Juan, I just saw you.
And I've been meaning to send her for like 2 weeks, but it's just one of those things that like they just kind of float around and never materialize. But anyways, that was funny. We made that, you made that song with her. You asked me to be in, and I was like just dancing in the background.
Pussyhood, about the cats in the neighborhood. That was the first music video I've ever made, so I was really excited when she did it. And it was just taking video clips of cats from the internet, but that song, it sticks in your head. Her music, she knows how to. She also did the theme song for Plant Peep, so it just sticks in your head. She knows how to make catchy tunes. I remember that song. And when you were filming that music video, I was staying at an Airbnb like half a block from where you filmed it. And then really?
You're like, where? I was like, are you free? I'm filming this music video, and I was like,
that's before Emily came out, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Now tell me about the what is it, Manitowoc sheriff, or how do you pronounce that?
The other video. Then the next video that we made, and we made a bunch after that, and they didn't take off like the candle video. Nothing has like the candle, but one came close. But then there was Making a Murderer came out on Netflix, and obviously we're from Wisconsin. It takes place in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, so it's another connection right there. And I remember it was, I think during Christmas, we were so addicted to it. I had them download it to my phone, and
everyone
we were
was
on the plane flying to Wisconsin for Christmas, and we kept watching. No, it wasn't downloaded. It was streaming. I don't think you could download it at that time, but it's streaming on the device and on my phone, and we just kept watching and watching. We were so addicted. We just had to keep watching until the signal would die off. It was so addicting. So we knew. We're like, okay, if we're this addicted to it, there's got to be something to it. So we figured, what if we had a story of two sheriffs, corrupt Manitowoc sheriffs, in the style of Cops, filmed like Cops, but more like Reno 911, because it's another show I just adore. I love that show so much. And so we did that. We filmed that one, 3 little segments. It was just, again, fun to do. Just in editing it, you're laughing. If you're laughing at stuff when you're editing, it's like, well, if no one else likes it, I love it. And it's just, put you in a good mood.
You can always go back and enjoy those moments,
Yeah. And it got write-ups, and it was still back in the days of write-ups, and so that was fun. The
other one that came close was the Housewives of Westeros.
I was going to say, the Real Housewives of Westeros. That was the third one that I think had the viral following. And it went viral. It was also had views on YouTube because those are embeddable links that these write-ups could use. But it also was very popular on Facebook video. And people ripped it from YouTube and posted on their own page on Facebook. So that's flattering, yet not cool, but still flattering. So that also... We were in a rush to get that one because we wanted to get that one finished before the last episode of the season. And we were looking at past seasons of their calendar of when they get it done. And then they skipped a week off and I'm like, oh my God. So I had to pull an all-nighter to try to edit and get it done and release before the last episode would air. But again, you have to teach yourself. You're trying to do, imitation. So I'm trying to imitate Real Housewives, the title style, the transitions, the sounds, everything, the music, even the music you play when you're in the show. There's so many little elements, but it's so fun to get something and imitate really close that you're just like, oh, this is so much fun to watch. And we're such big Game of Thrones fans, and so it was funny. It was that season where what's her name? The Stark daughter. She had red hair, but then she dyed her hair dark, and she had that amazing black dress with the feathers, and Susie was just, I'm gonna make this dress. And she was making the dresses.
Wow.
We're ordering stuff on Amazon and costumes, and it was just so much fun. And I think all of the actors involved really enjoyed playing with it and sinking their teeth in and doing imitations. It's just, people still comment on those videos like, oh my God, she was so good. And I threw myself in there real quick, just if I could, do a cameo, and because it's Real Housewives, not the men. So
yeah,
but it's fun.
It's fun that you talk about that, because I've made some videos that, after like a few, I just quit, and that's another personal problem of mine. But anyways, it always is fun to look at back, regardless of the views, regardless of that. They become like memories. I was talking to my mom today about a horror movie it's a comedy, and my mom was visiting, and I was like, you're gonna be the psychic. She's like, okay. And my mom's not an actor, but she went with it, and she did really good. And now every Halloween we watch this Halloween movie with the kids, and we laugh so hard. And my mom was dancing at the end. I have a fog machine, and she's like, stop. nobody parties without the doctora Psyche. And she's like dancing. It's like so fun. It's so fun to do.
See, and then it becomes a family tradition for you. That's amazing to create traditions. I like that.
Yeah. I want to keep. And now my daughters, they're going. Our oldest one is editing videos. She's like using Adobe. Our youngest one is acting. She's taking acting classes. So it just it becomes, as you say, a family tradition. Now, when it comes to like deciding, whether you're going for, like, you go based on things that you enjoy, from what I'm hearing, right? Like the show, you love Game of Thrones, you watch Making a Murderer, right? You never really go with like things that you might not enjoy but might get views to try it. It's mainly things that you get inspired
I've done
from.
stuff like that. Like if there's back in the past, if there was a video that was like, there was that one, the guys on the boat and they're yelling at like a sunfish and they're swearing and it's all crazy, and we thought, oh well, we'll do a parody of that in the same style as the candle video. No one saw it. My nephew's the only one that loved it. He's like, that's my favorite video that you do. I thought, that's one of my worst videos, but he loved it. He was a middle schooler, so middle schoolers liked it. But we did that, and it's not fulfilling to me, the creator, even if it turns out okay. You're like, why am I really doing this? I'm not into it. But yeah, the most fulfilling ones are the ones when you really enjoy the content. And the timing is important too. The candle video, if we had done it a week later, it probably wouldn't have been as popular. It's because we saw a trend, saw something go viral, and if you can mobilize yourself fast enough and jump on that trend that quickly, then it's great. The Housewives of Westeros, Real Housewives has been around for years, so that wasn't a trend. But Game of Thrones was still, water cooler talk, where it's week to week. It's not binging it every week. Everyone is watching it as it goes. It was a really huge season. I don't remember. That and mobilizing for that one. I think we knew a month or so before that we were going to do it. So we planned it. Susie's writing it. We're ordering costumes. We even got Daniel Rojas to do like a little theme, the Game of Thrones theme in the beginning, in the style of that. And he's like a huge composer now, very popular. And I was like, oh my God, thank you for that. So it was a lot of people putting in just, all these little bits, and, it's fun. I look back at the pictures of that, and I have such great memories of it. And it's like you said, if you look back and you can remember every time, but like this part and this part, we got to use a friend's house in the Hollywood Hills, and that really made the scene, because I wouldn't have been able to shoot that in my backyard. It would have looked awful. It would have been 100% green screen the whole time. And that, if you ever worked with green screen, that's a whole other animal. Especially if you're a perfectionist, like a wrinkle or something, and it's tough.
And talking about what's trending, my first YouTube video, I was like doing a lot of improv in Chicago at the Second City, and I was like, oh, comedy, that's a good way to build an audience, and I'll try some sketches. And I also try to do what's trendy. So the movie Fury with Brad Pitt about the tanks, and was out. So what I did is that I grabbed like a mannequin head, and then I was like, I'm gonna make a sketch about Brad Pitt winning an Oscar. Right? So what I did is I dressed like a hairstylist, put some glasses, a long wig, and then I made the thumbnail looking, I think this was maybe by accident, but it looked like I was going to do a tutorial of how to teach someone how to do Brad Pitt's haircut. So then it was called Brad Pitt's Fury haircut or something like that. And it looks like I'm about to show it. And then once you look at it, I'm doing this weird accent. I'm like, I'm from Tokyo. And it's like... I've been in Tokyo and France and all these. I don't even know what I was doing, and I'm just like chopping hair off and being like, "You're gonna win an Oscar, Brad Pitt," and like the head moves at the end, and I got like 4,000 views and like a few death threats.
How dare you trick me into watching this video?
They were like saying like it was like my first experience with like getting. I mean, for me, 4,000 views, it was like good. And a lot of comments, they were like, "I wish you could die. You're so stupid." And I was like, "Ouch!" And I was like, "Ugh." And then I made a few more sketches, and after that, I was like, "I'm done." And then I moved to LA after that. But now that we're talking about all this content creation, I want you to tell us about your latest project, the Plant Peeps.
The Plant Peeps. It's we're trying to figure out how to describe it best, and I think it's kind of a mix between The Office and SpongeBob, because it's an ensemble cast. They're all in one area, but it's initially we didn't make it for kids, but we've been testing it. Your kids, we tested a couple episodes out, other people's kids, and it really resonates with them. But we wanted to have a kind of video series that the kids will watch over and over, but the parents don't want to, leave the room like, oh God, that again. Where the parents they're like, oh, okay, I get it. Or, kind of little inside jokes that parents can get that kids won't understand. So that is the germ of where it came from. But it also came from Susie started getting into indoor gardening, and she bought a Rise Garden hydroponics system, the big tall ones, and the 3 levels. And I think she was saying to me one day, like, what if these plants all had their own lives and they had the little dramas going on? Wouldn't that be fun thing to make? And I didn't know, animation or anything. I thought, well, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to like cut out little paper things and move them. I said, it'll look terrible. Forget it. And I just poo-pooed it. I was just like, I don't know how that could work. But I started, searching around for animation programs. I wanted to find something that was free because, I don't want to spend money to play around. Even, I kept coming from a sense of lacking. Like, I don't have enough money for that, but to just spend money. And so I looked at different programs, and I found the trial program for Adobe Character Animator. And of course, it's the most expensive of all the programs. But the tools it has worked. I mean, it clicked with my brain. That's what it always is. People say, what's the best one to use? The one that you can actually work with and handle. And I started figuring it out. And I thought, okay, well, now I need to do the art. So I got to learn a program, and I got to learn how to draw with vectors. And so I started using, what is that? It's on my computer down here. It's Pixelmator Pro. Because Photoshop, it expired on my computer, something. So a friend of mine's like, oh, you got a Pixelmator Pro. It's cheap. It's really easy. It's just like Photoshop. So I started using that, even though Adobe Character Animator only comes with that full set of Adobe products. So you get Photoshop and Premiere, and you get all that stuff. But, I just...
The Creative Cloud.
Pixelmator Pro, it works well with my brain. So I had to do the art. And so that started coming together. And she's like, oh, yeah, I love this. I love it. So
you put in a lot of learning and a lot of time to develop this, because animation is
and those are the easy programs. I had to learn Blender to build a model of that hydroponics garden so that I wasn't drawing every angle, every background angle. Because if you know art or if you're into animation, you have to have your character and then the background. Well, are you going to draw every single background angle every time it changes? As a filmmaker, I like my shots. I like my tight shots. I like my wide shots. I like my mediums. I like a 2-shot. I like moving shots. How do you do that when you're going to draw like a giant picture and then move the camera? Ugh. So I figured maybe I'll mix 3D. So I had to learn enough Blender to get by and build those things and create a little house and put the garden inside the house. Then I had to learn Motion, Apple Motion, which is my 3D program that I use. I already knew it. I already owned it. So, figure that. And then, of course, I edit it all together in Final Cut because I'm one of those. A lot of work. I'm one of those Final Cut editors that people keep talking. You can't edit with Final Cut. That doesn't work.
Why did you do that?
It works.
Why?
Exactly. I love when people think they know what you edit on when they watch the final product. No, you don't. No one knows what anyone edits on. It's impossible to know. Although you can recognize transitions. I'll be watching someone like, I know that transition. I know where they got that one. But who cares? All that matters is it entertaining.
Now that I found out that you edit with Final Cut, all right, show's over. Thank you, bye. I'm just kidding.
This is a house of Premiere people. Yeah. I tried to learn DaVinci Resolve, but I just can't wrap my head around nodes for some reason. I just not. They're like, no, it goes to here, and then it goes. I'm like, but Final Cut's so easy. It's just look, it's right above it. Anything above it goes down. It's really easy.
So what would you say to someone who wants to like get into animation? What would be your advice that you started from basically scratch? What would you advise them?
So it's interesting. There's like a Facebook group for the Adobe Character Animator, and I see the stuff that people do because I'm always looking to see someone that makes really fun content. And I see a lot of just simple little, what they're called as puppets. The characters are called puppets. And that's what I thought it was going to be like when I saw first what people made is just really kind of blah, really kind of simple. And it's just people didn't put a lot of time. So I was afraid that my work was going to look like that. And I thought, well, no one's going to watch something if it's, I mean, that's not true because look at South Park. Turned into a phenomenon.
I just saw a clip from the creator saying the only reason we started this is because we hate actors, all of them. All of the actors, we hate them. So we're going to make fun of actors in Hollywood because that's the best way to do it. And that's why they started the show.
Well, I love my people. But as a filmmaker, it's how do you get started in animation? Find a program that'll work for you. Have an idea that works for you that's, I don't want to say that's important to you, but something that you can be passionate about, that you can be interested in. Because working in animation by yourself is incredibly lonely and extremely tedious. So if you are not into your creation, your cartoon, your episode, whatever it is, if you're not into it, you're gonna dread it the whole time. Because you're all alone in this room and you're working on this thing, and if you're like, "Why am I making this? This is stupid," you're gonna hate it.
And it goes back to. Sorry to interrupt you, but all of that is going back to what you were saying about your content creation. That it should be fueled or powered by passion. Otherwise, it's just no one.
Yeah, and why are you doing it if it doesn't have it? You're like, "Oh, I'm gonna make all these views on YouTube." Good luck with that, unless you already have 5 million followers. You'll get 5,000 views in the first hour because it's there. But for me, jumping into animation worked really well with my filmmaking background because, I'll be doing a shot and I'll be thinking, okay, now I'm going to have the camera get closer, and then I know if I'm like using an 85 millimeter lens, the focal range is going to be very, the depth of field is going to be very shallow. So I want the background to change focus as it's moving. So I'm able to live vicariously through the cartoons, but that is a way for me to channel my, my needs as a filmmaker to make something. So if someone's going to get started in animation, it all depends on what kind of animation you want to do. If you want to make something that looks like it's filmed with cameras and stuff, well, then you have to be aware of, what framing would that be, and how long would the program be, and what kind of camera shots, is it medium, close up, is it a wide, all of those things are in my head. I'm reading a script that Susie would write, and I'm like, okay, that's a wide shot. Okay, then I push into here. Okay. And then as I get more ambitious with episodes as they go on, I'm thinking, I should do a more complicated shot. What if I could make the camera move like this? What if I could do this? And then I'll spend an entire day or two just to make one shot. And no one that watches it they'll be like, wow, that was really good. Your brain, when you're watching cartoon, it just accepts it, and you take it all for granted. So it's going to be a thankless thing. No one's going to be like, wow, how did you do that one shot? They just say, okay, cartoon, got it. And you have to be okay with that,
Where can people find, this project of yours? Yep.
So I'm on the last episode right now. I'm actually on the last page. We're going to release it. We're going to do a mass release. It'll be on YouTube. We will have vertical video versions on TikTok.
Nice.
I don't know about Facebook. Facebook video just seems it's like a dead place, like a graveyard. And even Instagram, no one wants to watch videos on it. Everyone wants Instagram to go back to photos, Yeah. Every place has its little, I like TikTok for short form.
I love TikTok,
video. Yeah, but when it comes to 16:9, watching something, YouTube is always still the king for that. Yeah. So we'll have it on YouTube. We'll be promoting it a lot, really getting it out there. We'll be doing little promotional mini things in between as well, because we want to release once a week. I think
The
we'll start with 2 episodes and then do 1 a week after that.
YouTube Shorts is a good way to promote it. Instagram just has a horrible search engine. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's awful. Same with Facebook.
Got bought out by Facebook. That's why everything they touched just
Yeah.
starts like a withering flower.
But YouTube is awesome. TikTok is awesome, and the search engine on TikTok is actually pretty good. I like it actually too.
I got that algorithm showing me as many cat videos as possible. It's wonderful. I mean, it's for me. People say TikTok, that's gonna what? The cat videos are bad for me. It's great. I love it. It brings me joy. You know,
I love TikTok, and then sometimes, so for example, I want to watch, like if I want to learn something, let's say a recipe. I can go to YouTube, and the recipe will be a 10-minute video. I'm like, can it be just like a second? And then I go to TikTok, and I'll have a recipe in 40 seconds. So
Right.
it's the type of time that you want to spend. Now, before we wrap up, is there anything that we watch TV and all that, anything that you want to suggest people, any podcast or YouTube videos or TikTok accounts that you want to suggest for people to check out? Not really?
oh boy, it's been a while. I
No, so
mean,
you're just mainly creating right now, huh?
yeah. I mean, I've found that I cannot allow myself to keep working past like 7 p.m. Because if I keep working after at 7 or later, then I can't go to sleep. I'll just keep going. I'll go all night long if I'm just keep going. And then you're like, how do you shut off your brain? So usually around 6, when Susie's done working, she has a remote job. We'll stop. I'll stop. We'll have dinner, or around 6:30, I'll stop. We'll eat dinner, and I just try to watch something completely different. We're right now, we're binging. What's it called? Vanderpump Rules. I'm gonna admit it. I'm not a reality TV watcher per se, like a junkie like the other people, and I don't like the Housewives shows. I don't. It's all that. But the way she sold me this show, she said, "Oh no, it's like restaurant workers," and I had 13 years working in a restaurant. And granted, you're watching, and there's cameras and the cameramen, people holding cameras, so it's not like hidden cameras. So you never know, like, are they playing up for the camera or not? But it's fun watching people in the world that I've lived in restaurants, even though it's a higher end restaurant owned by Lisa Vanderpump. And then she opens another one around the corner and then another one. And I mean, I think we're in season 8 now, which is, I said, I'm going to pay for Peacock, the without commercials, and you just go through it. But I like that it's something completely different, and it allows me to just switch my brain to something else. I'll watch some of that, and then when it comes time to slow down, I'll just watch Voyager, Star Trek Voyager. I'm trying to rewatch. I haven't watched those since the show was first on, and then I'll probably move back to Deep Space Nine and just veg out and slow down at night. I should probably be reading books instead, but
hey, you gotta relax and enjoy. Downtime too.
I mean,
we're watching Beef on Netflix.
Okay, I've heard good stuff about that.
It's really good. It's really, really good.
A really great show you should watch is called The Other Two. The Other Two on Max.
What's that about?
We have HBO Max. It's about, so it's like 2 siblings, and their youngest sibling was like Justin Bieber, and he got famous for, I think he was just doing videos. I think he had a song, or he had no talent, but he had a song. And their jealousy in the first 2 seasons, are towards him. And then the sister's trying to get involved. The brother is an actor trying to make it. Molly Shannon plays the mother. It is so good. It is so funny. Oh my God. And this season, you will crap your pants with laughter.
Really?
There are certain episodes. There's one episode where the brother was in a movie, and he's finally in a movie. So it's like it's his big thing. And he arranged for them to watch it at a screening. And and the mother became famous as like a talk show host, but she's still really grounded, disconnected, as only Molly Shannon could do. And so they're in the screening room there, and they had like a TV executive and all the friends and family. And this is so accurate. He's the actor in it. And he sits back at the front of the room, and he's watching them watch it because he wants to see their reactions, and they have the close-up on him, and he's just like watching them, and he's fantasizing about how people would walk up to him in the street, and just like what every actor goes through, because Susie turns, she goes, oh, that's you. That's so you want to watch them watch it. I said, guilty, but it is so good. You will laugh. There are so many perfectly timed moments. That's like the TV. That's what TV was meant for. Shows like that. It's just so good. I love when shows hit so well, and people you didn't even know what it was. People don't even know. I'm like, God, Max, do your job. We live in a city where there's billboards everywhere, and people still don't know about this show. So, but
free advertisement like
TikTok. You get to binge it.
Awesome. And then last thing, any note, or I don't know how to word this, but I want to try out you giving a message, kind of like, or saying something that you want to remember about these times, either for you or for anybody in the future who were ever to watch this podcast or listen to this podcast, like a message from now to the future. Is there anything you would like to remember, or shout out, or greet, or say hi to anybody, or anything that you can go back in the future and be like, oh, okay.
Go back in the future. Any message? I don't know. Like to strangers, to people I know?
To you? I mean, to anyone maybe listening to this podcast, anything that stands out from this time? Or
I would say be honest with yourself and live in the moment, and learn to not worry about the future or dwell on the past. This is a problem that as humans, including myself, we all do. Worrying is just meditating on negative thoughts, and thinking about the past is dwelling on past stuff. We can't live in the present if we're worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. And the present, just, you gotta enjoy. They say enjoy the journey, because it's not about. I hear all those interviews with actors that are famous because they were working so much, and they always say like, oh, the fame, or getting to the level. It's the fame. I don't think anyone wants to lose anonymity the way a lot of famous actors have, where they can't even go to the store anymore without being mauled by photographers or whatever. I think as an actor, we all just want to be able to live off of our acting, and just, I get up and I go to the studio and work on my show, and that's it. That's the dream. That's what you want to be able to do.
I think so, yeah.
But so many of them will say, I did it, I got there, and I still felt unfulfilled.
Pretty much everyone.
Because they think it's the end result, and then you get the end result and you're not fulfilled. So that just tells me, and that should tell all of us, okay, it's really just about that journey. It's just imagine the journey. And so it's kind of like when we make stuff like Plan Peeps and stuff like that. If the journey is enjoyable, then I win. That's it. Then we win. So if you can find joy in the process, or process, as they say in Canada. If you can, I love to fake Canadian accent my way through stuff. If you can enjoy the process, then you're not worried about that outcome, and you get to stay present in the moment and enjoy it. Find things that bring you joy and just do it.
Very well said. I agree with that. I try to live that way. So it's sometimes easier to think it, but it's kind of like work. It's something that you kind of have to rewire your mind, and then it becomes habitual. But especially in this industry, as I was saying, it's just taxing to it's a lot of rejection. So it's constant work. But I feel like if you can work towards having that state of mind, life's good,
A lot of rejection. What are you talking about? I get a yes on every audition.
Hey, man. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be strong mentally to handle it. Mm-hmm.
It's a tough, but if you can make it fun, the journey, that's where it's at. All right, César Gamiño, thank you so much for coming to this episode.
Juan.
It was fun. It was really fun. So I appreciate your time, and it was fun to go back all the way to Wisconsin. And then
in the snow.
Here. All right, César, thank you so much for having us, for being here.
All right, man.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, for listening to another episode of Colmillo Chilango. Don't forget to subscribe. If you are following on, the audio format, you can always contact me via email, social media. All the links are attached to the show notes. Well, I'm going to also attach on the show notes your social media, so in case they want to check out Plant Peeps or the Real Housewives of Westeros, all those clips that we talked about, they can see them because they're worth checking out. All right.
Thank you.
And let me just stop.